Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, I've recently talked to one of my great friends that I've met through fishing. And we were talking about what this last year was like. And I told him, I said, one of the things I discovered was a whole new waterway that I'd never fished before, really, and that's the Raquette River. And I said, here's what fascinates me about fishing the Raquette River. Now, again, I'm not a scientist, and I haven't really gone to the DEC about this, but here's what I found, because my buddy Rust and I fished it many, many times this year. And we found that the smallmouth bass fishing, while it was great, just like it is in the Grass River and the other tributaries, the size of the smallmouths that we caught were much bigger. The average size was much bigger, whereas the average size bass you might catch in the Grass River might be 8 or 9 inches. You'll still catch some beauties, but 8 or 9 inches. In the Raquette River, the average size that we caught was maybe 12 inches, and several in the 18-inch size. I mean, these are big bass, but it isn't just the bass. There's a fish that lives in our streams. We call them fall fish. They're like a shiner. They're like a chub. But I think the name of them is fall fish. And in most of the streams, or even in the St. Lawrence River, they'll grow up to maybe a 12-inch fall fish is a big fish. And it's about as big as any that I've caught in the Grass River. In the Raquette River, Russ and I got in one spot one time where we caught 4 or 5, and we had a measuring thing, and I couldn't believe it. I said, Russ, these fish are 20 inches long. What makes them grow so big in the Raquette River? But that's not all. Wait, there's more. One day we came to this pool. And the way we fish it, we fish it in our canoe, and we would go upstream to a pool that looked really good. And you can't really fish it in a canoe and really be able to concentrate on that pool. So we'd put the canoe on shore, we'd wade out to where we wanted to fish, and then we'd start really fishing and we were using soft plastics most of the time. When this one pool, he caught a fish, and he says, "What is this?" It was a fat, sparkly, brownish type of fish with other iridescent colors in it. And I said, Russ, I don't know. It's not a crappie, but it's huge. When I'm saying huge, this fish was between 12 and 14 inches long. And later I sent pictures of it out, and it was a rock bass, but it was a rock bass bigger than any I'd seen. But like you heard me say a second ago, wait, there's more. Well, there were more fish. There was a whole school of these fish in the pool, and they all were these big, bucket-sized, huge rock bass. And they were aggressively hitting our bass lures. And I'd never seen anything quite like it. I mean, we didn't keep them. I'm sure they would have made a wonderful meal, but we're way upstream, and it's warm. And, if you don't have a way to really keep the fish fresh, even if they're panfish, as this was, you really don't need to keep them. But it was a mystery to me. How come these fish were so big? And since that time, I've caught them in other pools, and they're great big rock bass in the river. Why do they grow so big? Why do the fall fish grow so big? Why do the smallmouth seem bigger and almost healthier, less grubs on them than I've seen in the other streams? And it's just something that it's kind of a pleasant mystery to me right now. I'm going to investigate more. I'm going to talk to Jana Lantry, who is our manager for our fisheries here. But until then, I just wanted to let you know there's constantly new things that we discover. And as I discover these things, I want to pass them on. Believe me, catching big rock bass like that is fun. Rock bass don't fight anything like smallmouths or largemouth bass. But they get big enough, they're going to give you a tussle, and they're going to be fun. And it's fun just to get that strike and to see them swim back. Heaven knows how big they'll finally get. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.